Welcome back, one and all, to Everything Wrong with RWBY Volume 7, surprisingly with less people hating on it than last volume, and too many people telling me I should have done a 40-hour video. Both assuming there's 40 hours of content in this volume generally, which I doubt, and that my computer can handle a 40-hour video. Or it's a dumb joke I'm reading too much into. Let's get started. Why the fuck does Y sleep with a braid and tiara? Why the fuck does Y sleep with a braid and tiara?
What time is it even?
Time to be huntresses, of course.
I take this as an unintentional metaphor for my relation with the RWBY timeline. How many days has it been? Enough days to be a new episode, of course! Is that the second Amber of the series? Neat. And there's also a guy with a really strange name, Jimmix, and Huntsman Tim. Also, this is 100% a nitpick, but I was bored enough to see if any of these characters have color connections, which I guarantee took more effort than Rooster Teeth put in. I mean, they canonically had a guy named Saber Rodentia, unless you want to be the idiot to say that rodents somehow have color connections when they don't. Caesar Altagracia. That is Spanish for high grace and is reference to Jesus' mother, which isn't helpful. And Caesar has no color connections unless you want to use a connection to salad. Urban McLafferty. Urban, like cities. Cities are fucking grey, that'll do for me. But if you're curious, the McLafferty rearrangement is the organic reaction seen in mass spectrometry, which is the example of a hydrogen atom jumping from one fragment to another as part of bonds breaking. That's not at all what it's based on. All these names are just taken from people who work at Rooster Teeth, I think. Rebecca Miggy. Rebecca means servant of God, which is not helpful. It also means captivatingly beautiful, to bind and to tie. But hex code 663399 is called Rebecca Purple. Lionel Pessina. Pessina, however you say that, is a name given to decomposition at the bottom of a lake like mud, and mud is generally associated with the color brown, and brown is brown. And Lionel means young lion, so this person's name is Young Lion Decomposition Mud. Nice. Bruce Brandon. This one I couldn't find anything for. I found a color palette called Brandon, but that's just a palette some guy made on the internet. I could make a color palette called Spatula and say that's a good name for a RWBY OC. Jimmix Rankin. No idea what the hell Jimmix is, but Rankin is a name taken from Ronald and Rand, and those names don't give us shit about colors. Joel, man. Joel roughly translates to Yahweh is God, and man means man, so his name is Yahweh's God, man. Ethan Marler. No fucking clue what a Marler is. It's not a word in the dictionary, but Ethan just means firm and strong. Ryan Williams. A Williams pear is a very colourful fruit. Tim Reed. Reeds are plants, plants are green. Jack Banter. The best I have is that sometimes the white ball in lawn bowling is called the jack. David Tilton. I don't know. Amber Ackley. Amber was already used, just read her page on RWBY Wiki. And that's the rest. That's all I could read out, and I couldn't be bothered to find out what the rest of them say. These, I believe, are all just like animators and people in the RWBY crew who are just having some fun putting their names in as huntsmen, and I'm totally okay with that. I just wanted to look into what their names might mean. I don't generally consider this as bad as Saber Rodentia's name, because these are just like, more or less, I guess you could call them inside gags, maybe? I don't know. Hey, remember when Grimm were a threat? Me neither. This scene is an extremely unsubtle commentary towards haters of Bumblebee, isn't it? Let's go cave into the rabid horde of Bumblebee fans by throwing it into the show when it doesn't really fit, given the arc that characters started in volumes 3 to 5, and then dropped midway through 6. Now, I'm not complaining about Bumblebee because I'm a homophobe or because I dislike it. I'm fairly neutral on the ship. And I don't want to imply all Bumblebee shippers are cancer like some people do. That would be stupid. But this is pretty much a scene saying, you think Blake and Yang shouldn't be together? Well, fuck you. With Marrow playing the role of the detractors, because really, is there anything wrong with what he's saying? He's saying, you should try to branch out and fight with other people to see if you work better with them than each other. Of course, yeah, they're friends. But he's speaking logically, and they treat him like he's stupid, but like, this doesn't show at all their styles working together, because either one could have accomplished this on their own. Yang, from here, could have punched that Grimm into those Grimm. The only reason she couldn't in this situation is because Blake was standing in the way. So if Blake wasn't physically there, Yang could have just punched it over. Meanwhile, Blake could have just grabbed it and thrown it at them without Yang's help, and we know how frail Grimm are, they probably would have all died anyway. Then they give him these alpha bitch looks, and wow, this scene is dumb. It's both telling people who don't like the ship and complain in Volume 6 to fuck off, which is great writing by the way. Don't take in criticism, tell it to fuck off. I know I still talk really quickly, and people have criticized me for that. But people haven't criticized me that in a long time, that's alright, because it means that I don't really need to worry about it. Also, the current date that I'm recording this is 20/02/2020, which I just noticed, and it's kind of funny, because they're all 2s and 0s. You see, you get the understanding? Okay, let's go on. Also, they just killed 3 Grimm. That's all they did. How long did Mara take to do that last episode? Like, that's not working well together. Seriously, what they did in Volume 2 is a better example of that. Using Blake to swing Yang to achieve a more powerful strike than what either could do individually. And now Jean is a ladies' man, because Miles really wants you to know he's projecting himself onto this character. Also, Nora's like, it's because of the hair, which I find hilarious. Not for the reasons they want though, because they lacked so much foresight, they couldn't foresee this hairstyle getting the backlash that it did. And the backlash was pretty big, by the way, considering the only other thing that I think people complained about with the redesigns was Blake's hair, which personally bothered me more, because winter. Long hair, better for winter. Also, I prefer long hair on women, but Blake, I also don't like women who smell like trash. Also, these thirsty-ass moms gawking at John of all people is a little amusing, but I take this less as John being a total Chad, and more that these women are brutally desperate. Here we have probably the only memorable scene of Yang without Blake around. Every other time Yang has a one-on-one scene, it's with Blake. She's always with Blake this volume, even when Blake or Yang are not in the shot, they're still in the same location together, and probably still right next to each other. This is the only time Yang interacts with RWBY one-on-one this whole volume, and it's a single look with no dialogue. Really pandering to Bumblebee there, guys. Look, the movie was great, but come on. Like, even this equally brief and superfluous sister scene between Winter and Weiss expresses more character and chemistry than this one from Yang and RWBY. This is just, yeah, we like fighting. This shows Weiss wanting approval, Winter not giving it, and Weiss being annoyed by that.
You might not hear Oz anymore, Oscar, but that doesn't mean we can't try to jog him loose.
Well, what did you have in mind?
So because they didn't tell Ironwood the truth about why Oz vanished, now Oscar can get the shit beat out of him. Actually, if that was Ruby's motivation, I'd be totally down for that.
Have you ever thought about extending your aura?
Extending your aura? What the holy fuck does that mean? What? I know people will be like, Nemesis, you're stupid because it could mean any of these things, and it implies this. But, no. Aura is such a nebulous thing that's had almost nothing about it specified, even in its own fucking world of Remnant. Even the concept that someone's physical strength goes up with aura is headcanon. It's headcanon that most people share, but it's never been stated. All we do know, it's a manifestation of one's soul, it heals minor wounds, lets them take more hits, weapons can be conduits, which is not ever specified, and it is the fuel for semblances. No aura, no semblance, officially stated. There have only ever been 2 times where aura was used for attack. Once by Ren, once by Fox. The only evidence that aura boosts strength is these 2 specific scenes where aura is not being used normally, but very specifically, and the idea that weapons are their conduits means essentially nothing. What the fuck does extending your aura mean? You think by definition of extension it's pushing your aura further outward, giving it a wider radius, but wouldn't that just drain it faster? How would that help his current situation? What you did was attack the ground below him. What would have benefited him better is if he was looking at you and he avoided your attack. He can't literally extend his aura as arms like you, Vine. I like this scene with Ren, because this, again, offers more character to him than almost any other scene in this volume. I'm serious. And I mean character that isn't related directly to Nora. It shows that he doesn't like failing, he's persistent, and losing angers him to a small degree. He's someone who likes to improve by doing the same thing over and over, each time adapting to what was learned in the past attempt in real time, as opposed to trying, failing, and then taking some time to figure it out, and then going back in. Hey look, Blake fell asleep on Yang's lap. Doesn't this please you Bumblebee shippers, cause that was the point! I don't like Neon's new haircut, cause he has less hair. That is all. Anyway, this Team Foggy scene was completely meaningless, but at least it was fun. Honestly, the best part of it was Neon being a troll and Cobalt just picking Oscar up. I don't know why he doesn't just, smack Oscar one instead of just holding him up. Why wouldn't Neon be able to dodge this? Seriously.
You guys have really improved since the Vital tournament.
Neon, that is meaningless from you because you never fucking fought them. Here we have an 18-year-old woman winking at a 14-year-old boy. Creepy! Oh no, we don't get a scene of them eating together, because that would require them to characterize Team Funky beyond service elements. Wow, those 2D effects look fucking awful.
Speaking of friends, Have you been able to make any new ones? Since, you know... Now that I'm the official protector of Mantle, I don't really have a team anymore.
It's a good thing Penny doesn't see Winter as a friend, even though they are. Also, it's a good thing this scene never goes anywhere, because Penny never has a future interaction of this vein with Ruby, but has the rest of them with Winter. This card shuffle animation sucks. You know, I want to note that I don't want to attack the animation team when I criticize it. More so, I have an issue with the general production of the volume overall. It's not the animator's fault, but rather the fault of the team generally, and worthy of criticizing so they can improve in the future. RWBY now cost millions to make each volume. More than that, you can't just use low budget as... They're making 3 RWBY shows at the same time as of this recording. 3 different shows, all relating to RWBY. They're also probably, like... Fucking, there's a DC comics going on, there's the manga going on, there's video games going on, there's soundtracks being released. They are not! If they were actually low on budget, they wouldn't be doing all this other shit. What? He gave up drinking? Why, though? Like, yeah, he went on a bender last volume, but there was no repercussions to that. He would have been no help against the apathy, and it wasn't a problem at all for Team RWBY when they left the farm. And when they fought Cordovan, his drinking didn't hinder him at all. I'm not trying to say being alcoholic is good or cool, it's not. It is possible he stopped drinking because he just realized it's not good. But they seem to be playing this as like a big character thing for Crow. Never goes anywhere though, doesn't add anything, there's no reason for it to be there, why?
You two with me. Penny, stay put and keep an eye on our 6.
Affirmative. I will plan for 6 possible outcomes.
Why the fuck wouldn't Penny understand military jargon? How long has she been operating as part of the military? You think long enough to understand some of it. Oh great, Robin Hill. Oh, Robin Hill. Seriously, did Robin actually think Clover would break military secrecy? Is she just dumb? I guess she is Robin. This is probably the only time RWBY looked at Ironwood sacrificing the good of the few for the good of the many in this volume and didn't outright call him a douchebag for it. This Knight versus Beowulf fight would have been great as a full battle, because it'd be the most unique fight all volume. It doesn't involve regular sized people zipping around, which we've seen for like 7 volumes now, and it's kind of lost its interest. But it's 2 large fucking beasts duking it out. Also, we get no indication of what those sloppy touches Winter says are, because we don't get to see it. Still, Winter and Weiss are definitely the only sisters in this volume, and I do mean the only sisters. This might also be one of the only times differing opinions are discussed fully in the volume without any hostility or implying one side is dumber than the other. But I fucking hate Weiss implying Ironwood is doing what he thinks is right, but that just being a cover for his selfish and secretive nature. Ironwood's only secret in this whole volume is his lie to lure Watts out, which happens after this event. After what she says here, that happens afterwards. Ironwood is 100% honest to Team RWBY from the very start, and they are the ones that are lying and keeping secrets from him. Ironwood is the one that throws away his public image and puts himself through the ringer to keep his kingdom safe. Ironwood spends the whole volume doing nothing but looking out for Atlas and even to a lesser extent Mantle. Weiss has no reason to doubt Ironwood. She's the one lying! This is not a good line. It'd be better if the reason she denied going to join Atlas was because of her loyalty to her teammates, her friendship with RWBY, her need to see things through to the end. Things that fit her character better! The first 2 would show her development from Volume 1, and the third one would just be consistent with the character since the beginning. The only other thing is if you want to say she's talking about RWBY somehow when she says that, but Weiss is just saying this, but she means to say it about RWBY. RWBY isn't being selfish either. Both RWBY and Ironwood are doing what they think is right this whole volume. And that'd be fine, and I'd say better writing than RWBY has ever had, if the volume didn't constantly bash into its viewers that Ironwood is not to be trusted. The volume continuously, repeatedly, tries to make Ironwood look really bad and make Team RWBY look morally better. They have the moral high ground. It's over, Jamekin. But as someone who just isn't going to immediately agree with what the show wants, I find it a bit disgusting, because it actively goes against what could have been the best written conflict of the show. Nobody is tense when fights happen anymore, because there's never any surprises. Everyone sees things coming from a mile away. Even Clover's death later, while not exactly expected by majority from the start of the fight, the moment Tyrion ended, and especially when Crow lost Harbinger, it was screaming that Clover was going to die. But a battle of ideals is something the show hasn't really done yet, and it could have been amazing. Instead, we got a volume that was heavily biased, and people still compliment this volume for being a conflict of ideals where the viewer is left to choose which is right and which is wrong. The show doesn't do that. It advocates RWBY over Ironwood the whole time. It tries to make Ironwood look bad without writing him as bad. And Oscar even fucking says he's as bad as Salem! And this line embodies that poor writing. And no, Ironwood not showing them Freya is not him keeping a secret. Crow literally tells them they're old, and they choose not to ask any more questions. Oh, and Winter immediately shows Weiss Freya in the scene. Heck, if Ironwood is as bad as people say, he shouldn't be having Winter go in to talk to Freya and comfort her in her last few days. He should have Winter shoot her, or use the aura transfer machine. They need those maiden powers as soon as possible, right? So if he was just doing whatever it takes to complete his goal and was as evil as a lot of viewers suggest, why not just stuff her in the machine and get her powers that way? Heck, it might even be a mercy. I cannot express the pain I went through knowing how my grandmother spent her final months of her life. For all we know, Freya could be in a similar situation, and we just see the best of it. Those few moments she's not in horrible pain, the few moments she doesn't wish to die. And heck, when Winter finally does go to the aura machine, it's too late! Ironwood is so against the idea of killing what really is just a useless old lady that it ends up costing him dearly. Oh yeah, people might say, Winter is talking with her, so they're friends with Winter, and Winter becomes a good nice person in Freya's head, so Winter can get the powers once Freya dies. But we also have established that, according to Osmond and his gang, you kill a maiden, the last person they think of is usually the one that offed them, and also just the aura machine would work. That's what they do anyway. So you want to know why this isn't a plot hole? Why this isn't a flaw with the volume that Ironwood didn't just do that? Because it'd be out of character for Ironwood to just order the death of an old fucking lady for his own gain! I can't get over all these people who like to spew on that Ironwood is the worst scum in RWBY. Worse than Adam, the racially prejudiced terrorist. But the scene with Weiss and Winter might be one of the best scenes in the whole volume. We needed more Winter and Weiss this volume. They are great together. And I think this is the real strength of the volume. It's not the moral dilemma that falls on its face or the themes that it conveys poorly, but rather those scant few relationships that really shine, with real chemistry that work and are entertaining to watch. Winter and Weiss, Crow and Clover, the Aesops with each other, Winter and Penny, the scenes with them manage to express more character and personality than RWBY has in years. Jacques' entire argument here is just, I relate to you fellow millennials. You hate what Ironwood's done, well I'm making it worse. Vote for me! It's not like the riot he started matters. It literally changed nothing in the story, because it's just sort of glossed over next episode. It's like it was just done so that they could have a cliffhanger. The next episode gets rid of it. Speaking of... And the riot is glossed over, it contributed nothing. So Ivory Brown and this person are also people to vote for. So why do 100% of people vote for Robin or Jacques? Like, Watts did manipulate the votes, obviously, but it'd be really suspicious if these other two got exactly 0% of the votes. I'm confident at least some people out there would vote for them just to be different from the main two candidates. That's how human beings work, after all. I like how Weiss is using underhanded tactics with a bit more brute force, while Winter is all prim and proper. It adds a bit of characterization to their fighting styles. This superpower backslap is one of the weakest versions of this trope I've ever seen.
Have you always been able to do that?
I don't know. I don't normally think it through that much.
RWBY should know. She's done it before. Why do people say she's super skilled when she doesn't even know what she is able to do? Also, why are these live results? Like, don't they tally all the results, then announce them after the fact? I don't know how it's done outside of Australia. I barely give a shit inside of Australia. But generally, I've always seen them do the voting, and then sometime later they'll go through the votes. Ironwood's right. Nora is right. If they didn't have later scenes, this would be a good showing of different views. It's true that opening up to her would be good, but it's also true that it'd only be good if she's willing to work back with him, and that if she's not willing to work back, it's too much of a risk, because with that sensitive information, she could use it against him. Oh, I love they don't show us the dancing with Yang. I'm like, no, 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 no!
From where I'm standing, both of them seem to be trying their best to help Atlas.
Wow, Nora. That's true. I like that. Weiss is maybe the most relatable character in the whole series in this scene. Literally watching any other shit is better than watching cringy Bumblebee pandering or Robin Hill, period. Hey, actual characterization. And it's Nora and Ren, and Ruby's unimportant to it. Nora wants to have fun and relax. Ren wants to train and get stronger because they're pressed for time. That's enough. That's characterization as far as Ruby's concerned. Why can we call these thirsty moms, but we can't call this thirsty Nora? This is thirsty Nora. I'm declaring it. I do like it though. I know people are bothered by how they went from together to barely interacting for 2 volumes, to Ren being dismissive, to playing a thumb war with their tongues. And yeah, that is a problem. But I like the chemistry between the characters. Probably the only chemistry that survived all 7 volumes, even if the last 2 volumes had none of it. And then there's this whole conversation I have nothing to say about. It's fine. You know, people have been bothered by 4 ears on Faunus before, but by God, it's freaky when they're right next to each other. Boy, am I glad the Happy Huntresses didn't get any characterization and are just background characters with no point. This chick don't like Marrow, that's about it. I don't mind the kiss, but it never gets brought up again this volume. You could cut this out and you would change nothing! And it wouldn't change the neo-fake Nora sad face scene, because Ren cares enough about Nora to react the same way anyway. So Ruby does the smart thing of not just standing there silent when she sees Tyrion, but does nobody care that this 15-year-old girl's like, "Oh! Holy shit!" Also, yeah, Faunus can see in the dark, so Tyrion killing people is fine, but why is it only Penny we see doing anything? Yeah, okay, Fiona's protecting Robin, but what's Marrow doing? Also, somehow Penny has colored night vision? You know night vision is literally impossible to get in color, right? It's all just green. Other colors are impossible for night vision due to how it works. Yeah, it's a nitpick, I know. Someone do a calc on how fast Tyrion is here. Actually, you know what? I'll do a quick one. Tyrion appears to be here at the center of the stage, maybe a bit further forward. Then he goes here at the bottom of the stairs. Assuming this distance is roughly 15 meters, that looks about fair to me. And assuming that Penny has a 30 FPS camera in her eyes due to it being the same frame rate as the rest of the show generally, Tyrion has crossed that distance in 1/30th of a second. Tyrion will be moving at 450 meters per second. Assuming it's actually 60 FPS based on the frame rate a normal human eye sees with, Tyrion would be moving at 900 meters per second. This would put Tyrion's speed at nearly 3 times the Thrust SCC, which is the fastest land vehicle we've ever built, and just under half the speed of the North American X-15, the fastest manned jet of all time. That's fucking fast. You know, people like to ask how Fiona didn't see Tyrion coming, but I think the fact that she was looking the other way, then turned to look at him, and wasn't fast enough to stop him, that's why she got hit. She did not see him coming. She wasn't looking at him at all, and then when she did, she was whacked. Right, so what was the point of this again? Like, now with knowledge from the future, this doesn't affect anyone's character arcs. If it was taken out, nothing would change except it'd make the jock winning at Robin victory celebration really awkward. This attack from the Grimm is never shown on screen. It doesn't really affect Robin's character arc. We barely ever grasped her character before this happens anyway. Like, yeah, she goes full vigilante and breaks the law, but if this never happened, Blake and Yang could have just encountered Robin at any other point and broken Ironwood's trust normally. And Robin knowing beforehand, all it affects is Ironwood's trust being broken. All it actually does is all this scene does, really, is give reason to show the Tyrion's there for the heroes. But, like, what purpose does this serve the villains? Framing Penny didn't lead to anything. Like, we don't see any of the repercussions. You can't just say that repercussions exist when not show it. You can't just do that, RWBY! Also, the curfew is never brought up again. It's completely superfluous, and the fact this has on Ironwood is barely ever shown. He gets angry at one point, and then it's glossed over. Can we just see Robin shoving RWBY again? I love how none of these manticores attack the civilians and just attack the road. Why would Watts, who edited this incriminating Penny footage, then show the part where Penny looks concerned for everyone? This semblance better be limited to only inanimate objects. Right, so, here's the scene which I exploded at in the past. And yes, I still think Nora's being stupid, but I will admit, it's within her character, the scene fits with Nora's character, and the build-up over small scenes over the course of the volume is paid off here. Although I find it hilarious she explodes because he takes a moment to consider his options. Now I want to know how many people are actually on her side. Ironwood's choices are, appease a few people, or help the whole world. Now which of these would you guys go with? Help the entire world at the cost of taking away the freedom from a few city blocks worth of people for about a couple days? Or, let those people have their freedom, don't help the world at all, leaving your half of the city without any supplies and breeding chaos and panic in Atlas to draw more Grimm in. Both of these choices are going to lure Grimm. You suppress their freedom, Grimm. You don't get all the supplies up to Atlas, more Grimm. Either way, you got more Grimm. But one of these is going to help a lot more people in the long run. The other one is just going to not unhelp people. Which of these choices is better, you think? And like, what would I choose? It's hard to say. I don't think I have the qualities of a leader. I couldn't make a hard choice like that myself. I'm not cut out to be a leader. But then Nora says Ironwood is not struggling. He is. Very clearly, to anybody watching this volume who happens to have eyeballs, Mantle is not bearing all the stress. Everyone is collectively. Mantle is bearing more stress, and he admits that. But it's not bearing all the stress. Like, what does Nora want them to do? Nora seems to be saying, let's tell everybody about Salem and let's tell everybody about Amity. First off, while telling everybody that Salem somehow works, that's stupid. That's just dumb. It shouldn't have made everyone immediately go with Ironwood. It also would alert the villains, though. Ironwood is objectively correct here. Telling people about Amity Arena would have been a big mistake, because Tyrion, Watts, Cinder, Neo, and whoever else Salem might have sent with that knowledge would have been able to sabotage the Amity's whole situation with ease. Like, yeah, it doesn't end up happening anyway. But if he had told everyone, the chances of it happening would be even less. Ironwood laying down the law is fucking great, though. It shows that he is the only real leader in the series with any guts, including Ozpin, with the qualities of a leader, authority and power. A leader needs those. I know we all like the idea of a super kind leader who's not got any authority and is just like listening to everybody, but that would be awful for Atlas right now. And people attack one, and also people harass other people for being on Ironwood's side, probably because the show wants the viewers to be on Team RWBY's side and against him, and there are rabid fans that are willing to attack others in agreement because they agree. I have no issue with calling people who would harass others for their opinion on a show awful people. If you're gonna harass someone because of their opinion on a fucking cartoon, you're an awful, awful person. Straight up. Fuck off. The thing is, Ironwood is more on the right than Nora, because doing what Nora suggests, we know for a fact, would be disastrous. And you know what? Ironwood listened to Nora. He decided against martial law for the time being, probably because of Nora. And there are still those condemning him as an evil character. Even Oscar says he's as bad as Salem later in the volume. And here he is, accepting what Nora said, and choosing to go with what she said and not declare martial law. Just because he's doing what he thinks is right and not what our protagonist thinks is right, does not make him a bad person, because our protagonists are stupid. They're naive. They want to save everyone, and that's stupid. I'm honestly more angry with the way the fandom has reacted to this scene than the scene itself. Nora has a point. Pressing on Mantle is ethically bad. Ironwood has a point. If he doesn't do that, then the entire world is at risk of death by Salem. But I have to wonder, would we have those future problems if he declared martial law now? If he got all those dust shipments to Amity Arena, and he got that thing in the air a couple days later with much less of these problems, would any problems happen? Probably not. People would probably be a lot better off after that brief theft of their freedom. Not that I advocate for taking away people's freedoms, but I personally, and I feel like most people would also be on the same boat as me, would rather live a couple days with no freedom and then live a full life with freedom over getting to be free for the rest of my life, but that rest of my life being a couple days. Is it not worth your whole life to deal with a few days without freedom? Also, Nora getting mad about secrets is fucking rich. RWBY here is keeping a massive, massive secret. 3, in fact, from Ironwood. That there are questions left for Jin, Salem can't die, and why Ozpin isn't around. All of these are fucking huge. In the end, the only one of these that Ironwood learns is the Salem can't die one. Even at the end, RWBY is keeping secrets from him. And one guy was like, this is brilliant storytelling because Nora looked at RWBY, so she's angry with RWBY. But if that's the case, then that makes this fucking worse. Because despite being angry with RWBY, she never brings it up. She never calls RWBY out. Nobody calls RWBY out this whole volume beyond just asking her softly, is it okay to lie to Ironwood? And her going, yeah. And them just like accepting it 100%. Nobody ever gets mad at RWBY. Even Ironwood doesn't get bothered by RWBY keeping this huge secret from him. You know, maybe if Ironwood had all the fucking knowledge and they could all discuss things properly, they'd be better off in making a plan. But no, we can't trust Ironwood. That motherfucker wants the betterment of the world and understands that sacrifices need to be made. What a bad man. The only true path is saving the world with no sacrifices at all. No sacrifice, no victory? Fuck you, Archibald Wiki. It's no sacrifices, all the victory. Woo! Go Team fucking RWBY! Hey look, the only scene where Adam is brought up. At least Yang admits she wants to tell Ironwood the truth, but why is she so willing to go against what Ironwood wants and tell someone that she doesn't even know a secret, but not go against RWBY, who doesn't want Ironwood to know? Like, she has more reason to trust Ironwood with a secret than Robin. Yang has no idea who Yang knows who Ironwood is. He's someone who wants to protect everyone. As far as she knows, Robin could be some power-hungry bitch who's just using Mantle's struggles to pursue her own political gain. In fact, that probably would have been a more compelling character for Robin than what we actually got. It would be more unique, more entertaining a character if she was actually just a selfish bitch who uses the knowledge that Blake and Yang gained against Ironwood. If they wanted to show that there is no objective right, that's what they would have done. They would have had consequences for Yang and Blake breaking Ironwood's trust beyond just the expected Ironwood doesn't trust them. Because that just like... Oh. How would you feel if you had something that was really secret to you? Like, you trusted someone with this secret that you didn't want anyone to know, and then they, like, told someone who was directly opposed to you, who they barely know, that secret just because they think they have a right to know.
He's a bit prone to overreacting.
Yeah, hard to argue with that.
Hard to argue? It's hard to argue that he's overreacting when the safety of his entire fucking kingdom's at risk. Are you kidding me, Yang? For a moment, I liked you again. But here she's like, yeah, Ironwood was overreacting when he put out a dusk embargo to keep people safe, and when he made restrictions from going outside at night because a psychotic killer was on the loose who has killed several people at night when they were out. That was an overreaction. You know, I don't think we should have made prisons. We should just tell off our criminals and slap their wrists. No need to overreact. And Yang says they did what they had to do about killing Adam. Speaking, like, objectively, they didn't need to kill Adam. I'm not going to argue that it was a bad choice. Adam is a major terrorist who killed lots of people because he's racist. And no, him being a past slave does not justify him. Racial prejudice does not justify slaughtering people en masse and attempting to blow up a school. It makes it a bit more understandable, but that doesn't stop Adam from being a bad person. But they didn't need to, or at least Yang didn't need to. He had no aura, so Yang could have just shot off his legs, or just shoved him. I get Blake, okay? He was actively attacking Blake. She had no option but to stab him, really. Like, what else could she could have gone to kick him, but that would have been too risky. She didn't have aura either. She could have been thrown off. Yang didn't need to. If Yang had done nothing, Adam would still be dead. Blake would have just killed him on her own. Yang was meaningless to this whole scene. Blake did what made sense. Yang didn't need to. She could have shoved Adam, and that would have saved Blake. Shot him in the leg, punched him in the jaw. Things that would be quicker than running up, reaching down to pick up a blade, and stabbing him. And yeah, I get Blake doesn't want to kill anymore. That makes sense. She is human after all. Well, I mean, she's not actually... She's a person. Then Yang. Fucking Yang, of all people, is the person to suggest breaking Ironwood's trust. Not Blake, who has repeatedly broken people's trust in the past. You know, she broke Adam's trust when she ran away, and she also ran away from Yang and broke her trust, and she ran away from home and broke her parents' trust. Yang, the person who advocates for telling the truth and not keeping secrets, being a paragon, is like, yeah, let's break Ironwood's trust. No repercussions because I'm of that now, huh? And people are saying Ironwood was a bad guy for not trusting Yang and Blake in the future. Fucking hell! And like, Ironwood's plan is to give Robin an offer that, knowing Robin's personality, she'd go with. She'd be like, oh, well, let me just grab your hand so I can believe what you're saying. And he'll tell them, and she'll be like, oh, okay, I'll accept that offer.
Please stop! We just want to...
They don't want Robin to think they're a threat, yet they attack her with gunfire and Blake throws Gamble Shroud at her. And then that's not self-defense. They attacked first. Robin was just running away. They chose to attack Robin and she fights back and Blake's like, please stop. Such great characters. and such great writing. The creation staff has limitless power. So why couldn't you just use it to make a prison that's infinitely powerful to keep Salem in? Why didn't you do that, Ozpin, when you had the chance? You must have had it at least once! If you put it in the fucking school! You know, they could have just built the communications tower in Atlas and then taken Atlas up into space, but why didn't they do that from the start? Like, why are they so fussed about the general opening up to people? He wants to open up to only the people he trusts. Like, do people normally reveal their secrets to people they don't trust? This shot is a testament to how RWBY keeps adding many superfluous, underdeveloped characters instead of having a smaller cast of well-developed characters. Even a brilliant show like Fate Zero couldn't develop all 14 of its main cast. Not ready to discuss Whitley here.
Wish us luck.
Oh, you think you're so fucking funny. I'm bothered by how not every single servant in this place is a Faunus. This guy's no Faunus. Every single servant should have been a Faunus. It would have been good world building for the character of Jock Shithead. Great eating animation, guys. Why is Robin here? What's the purpose? I guess maybe Jock probably wants this so Ironwood can't lie? No, that's reasonable, yeah. Oh, hi, Neo. It bothers me they spent all this time building up the tension in this episode, but then next episode, Weiss just shows up in the first 2 minutes and everything's fixed. I know I said I wasn't ready to discuss Whitley, but I'd really like to imagine he's just happy to see his sister again. You have someone to talk to that's not a servant or his cunt of a father. Somehow, this glass of wine has enough liquid to completely soak almost all of his hair. Almost, because you can see the tiniest bit of white here. And stain his clothes, but it doesn't touch his skin at all. This is me laughing. Behold how much it sounds like I'm laughing. I mean, that's fine. I sound fucking weird when I laugh. I've always had a weird fucking laugh.
You can't just buy trust like everything else. You have to earn it.
I agree, Winter. Unless you're Team RWBY, in which case Ironwood will trust you the moment you show up just so you can break his trust. Woo! Best MILF is here! Penny, you can't go around saying Winter ain't your friend and then leave an important meeting to go comfort her. Instead of getting a good scene where they actually have a bit of a longer conversation about whether it's right to speak from your heart or stay in line and not let your emotions control your judgment, Penny just decides to leave. Woo! Pointless. I legitimately refuse to believe Watts wouldn't take precautions to prevent his being there getting documented. Like, he doesn't trust Jacques, and he knows Jacques could be recording what's going on and use Watts' word as blackmail. Should have been a bit smarter is all. Alright, here we go. Whitley. Whitley is not as bad as everyone says. Not to say he isn't bad. He's an asshole. He's snide. He's arrogant. He's willing to salt people's wounds. But I want to say, it's not entirely his fault he grew up to be an asshole. First off, he hasn't done anything wrong. He said things that were wrong, but he never did anything with negative consequences. Whitley is a guy whose dad is King Cunt, who doesn't actually care about him, and his mother is a drunken alcoholic he barely sees. His 2 sisters abandon him on his own. He has nobody, he has no friends, no allies, no loved ones to rely on. He has all this money and all this freedom, but no one to enjoy it with. He's alone. And when one of his sisters finally comes back and he says hello, he's treated like a sniveling rat, and then she leaves him again. Whitley is right to be angry at Weiss and Winter. The show acknowledges this. He is right to be angry at his parents. He has every right to be as bitter as he is because none of his family cared enough to prevent him from becoming that way. He didn't have any combat skills. He couldn't just leave. And Weiss, when she should realize that his state is because everyone left him alone, leaves him again, doesn't say goodbye, or even acknowledge him, never brings him up once in the future. Because after the next episode, Weiss is barely in the rest of the volume, and never brings up Whitley. Nobody cares about Whitley, I get it. The fandom doesn't give a shit about the character, but does not give Weiss the right to abandon her brother and leave him with an abusive cunt of a father. Whitley, you're an asshole, but I understand why you are. People say actions speak louder than words, and so far as a character, his only actions have been to make snide remarks and take Ironwood to a banquet table. He hasn't done anything wrong. I think we can be a bit lenient towards him. Hey, remember that curfew? These people don't. That's all for this episode. That's all I have to say for this part. I'll probably finish this series in the next part where I'll talk about episodes 9 to 13, so I'll see you then. Remember, I don't hate RWBY, I just want it to be better.